I think back on the 10 years of ERN, and I think I've been at all 10 of these. And the thing that keeps coming through in these videos is the idea of family, and that people can come here and be themselves. They can be their whole selves. They can, in fact, come here and feel safe. They can try out things. They can be who they are. Now, one of the things that I will share with you that's very personal is that I missed part of one of the ERN meetings when it was in Atlanta because my sister died and I had to bury her. And then I drove from Birmingham to Atlanta to the ERN meeting. And I found family, other family, who supported me during that entire time. This is the kind of place where we are cheering for each other, where we want each other to succeed. And so I thank all of you for that. It's my pleasure to introduce someone that I guess has become like family to me. You can read Crystal Emery's bio in the conference book. That's not what I'm going to tell you about. I'm going to tell you about Crystal and me. I first met Crystal, cold call, I guess it was, on the phone, and she was talking about some work that she wanted to do, really opening up the opportunity for students to understand STEM a lot better than they do in like the regular places where they happen to encounter it. And she wanted to use her own talents as a filmmaker and storyteller to try to help us bridge the gap. Because we do a lousy job, we scientists, we do a lousy job of telling our story. People have no idea of who we are, of what we do, of why we do it. They have no idea. But finding somebody who not only came to understand what we did, but to understand the importance of what we did and why diverse people within that space was so important, that was actually really critical to us. So Crystal is the founder and CEO of URU, The Right to Be, Inc. And in that role, she has reached out to a number of scientific groups, including the national academies, to help us do a better job, as I said, of telling our stories, and of bringing the science to young people, and of bringing our own messages to each other. She is a documentarian. She is a person with incredible energy and incredible passion. She is a AAAS If-Then ambassador. And in that role, I guess she now has real license to help us tell our stories. And so it is with that that I want to introduce to you a friend, a colleague now, a storyteller, a bridge builder, a person of strong heart and spirit. And I want you to give a family welcome to Crystal Emery.
Picture in your mind an open heart surgery. Did you imagine the surgeon to be a Black woman?
As a Black woman, are there more challenges? Absolutely. It was just assumed that I was not the surgeon.
I would walk into a room and you would get, when is the real surgeon coming to see me?
Every stereotype, I was not supposed to make it.
I had never seen a doctor before I went to college, and you can't be what you can't see.
I get challenged by the system, by my colleagues, by others, in a way that a white man would not be challenged. When I'm doing something new, when I'm doing something cutting edge, there is definitely much more of a spotlight.
Some people even believe and buy into that post-racial statement. There's nothing post-racial in this country. Race matters. It's the first thing they see when people look at you.
We change history by not giving up the struggle. We still have to train another generation of young Black girls. Open up these opportunities for them. Let them see the women who have accomplished so much and be inspired.
Having a diverse medical force is extremely important. To have the ability to be an example and a role model, to say this is something that I can do. Medicine is a career that I can aspire to.
As these trailblazers have shown, the young Black female physicians that are emerging today can do anything they really want to do.
Thank you for allowing me to come today. I must give honor to God or divine mind or whatever that higher power that you speak to for giving me the strength, get insight to be here today. I want to thank my spiritual teacher, Guru Madeleine, and I want to thank AAAS and NSF and Iris Wagstaff and her team. And I want to thank Shirley for allowing me to be one of your doctors, one of your daughters, one of your scientists, for allowing me to be me. Thank you. I want to thank you, students, participants of the Emerging Researchers National Conference in STEM. The song that you just heard is one of my favorite songs, Conqueror. And it talks about a vision, following your own path, and dealing with the challenges in life. Two of these lines speak profoundly to me in my own life's journey. Got a vision that no one else sees. A lot of work, so roll up your sleeves, because there's a war out there, so come prepared to fight. If I had to sum up my entire life, it would be those two lines. Let me tell you a little bit about me and how I came here today. My mom and dad got married at 16 and 17 years old. They eventually divorced. My mother went back to school to become a nurse, and my father became a successful entrepreneur. I grew up in New Haven, Connecticut. What was then a lot of pilot programs. And I grew up in one called Moderate Income, which eventually became a housing project. Now, here's the thing. When people think housing project, they imagine densely populated, depressed inner city, urban with unemployed, single-parent households. But that's not how we lived. Our house was a two-parent household. Both parents had jobs. In fact, hell, I thought I lived in a condo called a nature preserve because it was actually on a nature preserve, surrounded by trees, wild animals, and tranquility. Inside our house, oh my God, we had all sorts of pets. Dogs, hamsters, turtles, birds, ants. At one time, my brothers tried to have frogs. Thank God my parents didn't let the frogs in. We were like many other blue-collar families. People just trying to build a better life for themselves and their children. In our neighborhood, we didn't talk about race. You know, we lived with the Polanskis, lived down the street, and the Johnsons lived around the corner. The Horwitz lived right next door. Miss Hawley, which is my favorite story, she had this like heavy French accent. But nobody ever thought of her as white. We just thought of her as a lady that talked with a French accent. Despite the fact that my family and I lived on a very racially mixed environment. I didn't grow up in an environment where people referred to one another as that black person or that Negro. Race was not in the mix. It wasn't until I was part of the first busing program and I rode a bus every day 40 minutes outside of my environment did I become engaged with race. I was 6 years old, and quite frankly, it was a bewildering initiation into what I call the one and only club. Now, I'm sure everybody in here has had the experience of being the one and only club. Perhaps the only woman, perhaps the only person of color, you know, the only fill in the blank. Now, y'all looking at me like, oh, I'm not in the one and only club. By the nature of you being in this room, you're in the one and only club. Somehow, when you're the one and only of something, everybody looks to you as a representative of that group. Or perhaps you may take on that heavy burden upon yourself unadmittedly. Let me tell you something. I hate being in the one and only club. So y'all gotta hurry up and get forward and bring a whole bunch of babies that look like you with you. Growing up where I did, I had no role models in the world of entertainment. No actresses, no actors, producers, directors. Nonetheless, when I was in 5th grade, I started directing plays. Now, this might be a little too old for you, but my brothers and friends were the actors. And I would direct Batman and Robin versus Green Hornet and Kato. And then we would end it with Coca-Cola, I like to teach the world to sing. In perfect harmony, by the way. I was always a bit of an oddball. And I would say that many people still think I'm an oddball, but now they say, well, she's rather eccentric. You know, I wasn't as smart as everyone else, but I loved to read. In fact, they used to call me a bookworm because I'd have my books and I'd go sit under the tree. But the thing about reading is it took you all over the world. Like it took you places that you couldn't even begin to imagine that would one day become your life. I tell you all this about my background for a reason. When I do what I do, as a filmmaker, or a virtual reality creator, or even what you do or are striving to do, people think that, you know, oh, they come from a world of privilege. Oh, she's a physics major? Oh, it must be her family. Oh, that's a mathematician? Oh, they must come from an educated family. The money. But the truth is, it may have been the case for some of you. It certainly wasn't the case for me. And I'm sure it's not the case for many of you in this room. So how does your physical surroundings, upbringing, education, and unique gifts impact your perceived career opportunities? For many people, there's one life-changing moment, a simple interaction, a pivotal experience, a dynamic individual that determines the trajectory of your life. So for me, that person was the great actor Sidney Poitier. He was the greatest influence on my unconscious self because his films portrayed Black people like the ones that I lived with. You know, his films moved me deeply as a child. A Warm December is about a princess who has sickle cell. Would I have ever known that 35 years later, I would be interviewing, and the reason I made that film, Black Women in Medicine, Doris Weathers, who her research changed the lifespan of sickle cellers from 18 years to 50. That one woman had a vision. And so, A Raisin in the Sun, Raisin in the Sun for the Love of Ivy, where my mother went back to school with 5 children and got her degree and became a nurse. Like, did I know that Sidney Poitier was planting a seed in me and how I would use his work? No, it wasn't until I was in graduate school at the New School and I was writing my thesis did I realize, my thesis was called Sidney Poitier's Work as a Vehicle for Social Justice. That I realized that his philosophy and career had impacted me and inspired me to become a filmmaker and create please hear this, a new narrative of what I could become. And I'm creating a new narrative of what you can become. Now remember, 5th grade Crystal, I grew up where there were no actresses. So, yet I told everybody that I knew I'm gonna be an actress, I'm gonna make films, and people would just go, oh, that's just Crystal thinking big. I bet you every one of you in this audience was a big thinker. Maybe you didn't tell anybody, but in your mind, you had that vision. I want to study physics. I want to study astronomy. I'm going to be a researcher. I'm going to discover the cure for cancer. Maybe this is so funny to me, right? Maybe you thought about, why doesn't bats get HIV? I actually just met a researcher studying that. When she told me that she studies bats, I was like, lady, I'm not shaking your hand. And then I said, why the hell would you hang out with bats? And she said they're one of the few animals that don't get HIV. And if we could unlock that secret and apply it to man, I was like, you know what? I'm in love with you, sister, but I still ain't shaking your hand. One of the great things about the community I grew up in, maybe they didn't understand me wanting to be a filmmaker, but they never told me that I couldn't do something. They were always supportive in that way. Whatever you want to be, they say, we'll try to support it. So whenever I did a play, they all came out. As long as it was in New Haven. When it started getting a little further, they were like, well, we don't go that far. But my narrative in my head had no limits, no limits. So despite what the world thought, I was my only competition, always seeking good, better, best. And that led me to amazing opportunities. I have worked with Danny Glover. I've worked with Forrest Whitaker. I optioned my first screenplay to Suzanne DePass. That's the lady who discovered the Jacksons. I worked and lived in Paris and Germany. I started my own company. I was invited to do a discussion paper for the National Academy of Medicine. When they published the paper, believe me, my paper went through more peer reviews than Jesus probably did, or even better, John writing, the New Testament. And it just kept going through peer review. I was like, you know what, y'all gotta stop. Either you're gonna publish it or not. But here was the problem. My paper opened with, the master is not going to give you the tools to dismantle his house. Now I have to give credit to Dr. Victor Zal because he backed that paper and he backed the statistics. You guys live in a world where everything is statistics. Where everything is statistics. Well, statistics only tell part of the truth. See, if you're using percentage signs and you don't know where they fit, they sound great, right? I wanted to know how many Black American and Latina Americans would it take to make the playing field equal, represent the demographics. It would take 18,000 to graduate a year to 2060. Now, no mathematician wanted to touch that equation. The guy down at Duke, he said, okay, I'll work out the equation for you, but I'm not putting my name to it. Like hell, if you don't put your name to it, I don't have no credibility. So I went down to Texas and got these two mathematicians, and they did it up. Now, of course, it was challenged 6 times, but it came out saying the same thing. It would take 18,000 Black and Latino Americans every year to 2060 before they would represent the demographics of the United States. How many do we graduate every year? 2,500. You understand? Those numbers speak louder than what the percentage does. So, I have also shown you a clip of Black women in medicine, which has been seen by 14 million people around the world. Now, how does my life journey speak to where you came from and what you're doing and where you're going? I believe it's all about self-identification. You, as an emerging scholar, from the framework that's culturally relevant for you. Look, you probably haven't grown up the same way I have. Because you know what? Thank God you didn't. But you did grow up to be different. Each of you here was destined from childhood to be the brainiac you are at that table. Some of you might have been supported in that, but I'm sure many of you were discouraged and disheartened. I'm not here to talk about the younger you. I'm here to talk about the one right here, right now, that is on the path destined to be great. So you know what I want you to do? I want you to give yourself a round of applause for your brilliance. Now, if that's the best that you can do for your brilliance, we're in trouble. So we're gonna try it again. I want you to give a big ass round of applause. Damn right. Because you are the conqueror. Now, I want you to turn to the person next to you, and I want you to pat them on their back and say, good job. You're brilliant. Good job. You're brilliant. Because you know what? If we don't tell each other that, if our applause for ourselves is not strong, why would we expect anyone else? Hey, Iris, there's supposed to be a timer on over here. It's been on 0 the whole time. I'm lost. Okay, I gotta hurry up. In 2010, I made a film called Deadliest Disease in America. Does anybody here know what the deadliest disease in America is? Think about it and throw out some words. Go ahead, dude. What else? Come on, don't make me work. Did you say hate? There you go. Deadliest disease in America is racism. Believe me. Many people thought I had a lot of nerve making a documentary about racism in health. At every single level, I was challenged that this could not possibly be. So let me tell you a story. I'm talking to a dean at a prestigious medical school, and we won't say his name because we don't want to shame him. So he said to me, if racism in healthcare is real, then my whole life is a lie. And I had to say, sir, have you read the reports from NIH? Because I think it states unequivocally that racism does exist in healthcare. Not surprisingly, that guy did not hire my team for the job. When I first envisioned my documentary, Black Women in Medicine, my goal was it to be seen by 2 million people. Just 2 million people, I would be straight, right? Just 2 million. To date, Black Women in Medicine has been seen by 14 million people worldwide. And you know what? I don't even know if there's a statistic that exists for a black girl growing up in a housing project to make a film that cost $1.5 million, took her 4 years to raise, and then went across the country. So if I could do that, that goes to show you the veracity of the next few lines of Conqueror. I'd rather stand tall than live on my knees, because I'm a conqueror and I don't accept defeat. Try telling me no. One thing about me, I'm a conqueror and I will not accept defeat, and neither should you. I'm going to end this by saying, you have the opportunity to control your own destiny. The paradigm is broken, so we gotta blow the rest up and build a new one with new tools, grounded in love and respect. You are our future. Like, I am depending on you to find a cure to the disease I have, to build a wheelchair that is durable, right? That doesn't break all the time, that doesn't cost $30,000. I'm depending on you on that one. You have got to take where you are and build on it. You gotta have integrity. You gotta have energy, and you have to be your unique self. Because the moment you try to fit into that old mold of what a researcher should be or how they should go about that business, you already lost half of the game. So remember, you'd rather stand tall. You do not want to live on your knees. We are not beggars. We are born of the highest of high. We just have to understand that. I am honored. I am honored. I am honored to be in your presence because you're giving me hope. And if you'd like to hear more of my craziness, please go to my podcast, which is the intersection of Crystal R. Emery, and you'll hear me talk about all the things that they told me I better not say on this stage. I'm giving you love. Namaskar. Cool, can I have some water?
Thank you so much, Crystal. Let's give one more round of applause and we'll open it up to questions. Thank you. So if you have questions, if you could please make your way to the mic. If anybody has questions.
Hello, Ms. Emery. My name is Jerry Poston. I'm from Harrisville State University and Hornets Nation. And I just want to say you are such a ball of inspiration. I thought these students at Harrisville inspired me, but since I've seen you, you have sure enough inspired me. And I just want to thank the AAAS for bringing you aboard, and thank you so much for your ball of inspiration.
Let me say this about inspire. It's great to inspire you, right? But I need you to go do something, right? I don't want you to go and say, oh, I heard this lady, she was really great, kind of inspired. Inspired to do what, right? Like when you walk out of here, every moment is your opportunity to change that narrative, to change it with each other, right? You're in such a competitive environment, like to just give support to each other, to give support to that younger person that you don't have time for. Remember when somebody didn't have time for you? Get inspired to write letters to your congressman. Write letters to all them damn fools in Washington, really. And if you don't got a list, call my office. I'll send it to you.
Thank you. I'm Arlene from Valencia, and I would love to show your film during This is Black History Month. In honor of that, how would I be able to get that?
You could go to our website. You could call our office. You can ask one of my team over there.
Okay.
They'll give you a card.
Okay, will do. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Emmanuel. I'm from California State University of Los Angeles. And so frequently when I was growing up, I would hear a lot of things from my own educators, especially between 3rd and 12th grade. Used to tell me things like I never amount to anything, that I should just quit. And it wasn't just me, like a lot of us would hear that from our teachers. I feel like teachers have a lot of responsibility on their hands, especially for the younger generations. So what message do you have for the educators in this room, future educators in this room, and also, you know, in the country that are teaching our kids?
Do you live in LA right now?
I live in LA right now, yes.
You live in LA? Yeah. I got to come to LA and do a project. Make sure you give one of my people over there a card. We do a project called Teach the Teacher. Because this is what we say to teachers, right? Shirley will kill me if I say what I really said. So I'm trying to think of a politically correct way to say it. Take your shoes off and don't wear no drawers for today. Like you are so bunched up in some old, outdated way to teach teachers. Our school system is teaching our kids like they were in the 50s. We're in the 21st century. So what I say is, you know, the old guard gotta let go. You gotta open up and share the baton. You know, you are not the experts on every aspect of teaching. You know, each one of you, think about how different you are, right? Did you fit in a little cookie cutter? No. And educators, we gotta think of different ways how we are educating our children, because we don't want them to fit in a cookie cutter. Because you know what the cookie cutter looks like? Some old white dude. And that cookie cutter ain't working. You gotta loosen up. You have to leave room for young thought. They may not know everything, but they're coming at it with a different energy. And energy, as any scientist will tell you, is the most powerful thing on the planet, because it changes form. So you got to remind them, energy changes form, and you stagnant, you holding up the process. Get out the way.
So we'll take these last two. We'll take these last two back here, and feel free to come up and talk with Crystal after we end this session. So we'll take these last two.
Hi, Crystal. I'm Darren from Philander Smith College.
You know, I can't see you. Raise your hand.
Oh, over here.
Okay.
Let me say first that you are an excellent storyteller, and we're all blessed to receive what you've given us today. And my question to you is, throughout your story, you faced challenges. So how do you remain brave every time you were challenged on trying to tell your story and trying to tell the stories of, you know, disadvantaged and underrepresented groups?
You know how I deal with challenges? And my team will tell you this. First, I pray, right? Because I don't know everything. Because there is a power, whether you call it divine mind or whatever, because the scientific community has figured out that there is divine intelligence, right? And then I take a quiet time, because inside of you is an inner teacher. And if you are quiet enough, without all this gibberish, and without the internet, just take a moment, and you will be led how to overcome that challenge. You know, I used to be like, you know what? It's my job to take my grandmama's cast iron frying pan and slap this fool in the head. You know what I realized? It's my job to make sure I'm not that fool that needs to be slapped in the head, right? It's my job to make sure that the work that I do has integrity. I tell people often, oh, I'm not a good nonprofit hoe, right? Because I'm not making a deal to get a grant that I know that I can't deliver, but it falls within that grant guidelines. You have to stay centered wherever that power is within you. Take a deep breath. Obstacles, I read somewhere, you only see obstacles when you lose sight of the vision. So I take a deep breath, I get quiet, And whatever that obstacle is, can believe me, getting here, right? The van that I was supposed to rent broke. Big, giant, handicapped van. The people call us the day they're supposed to deliver it. Oh, Miss Emery, your van is, I was like, oh, shit. Okay? I'm like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to get to Washington? Just got real quiet. Phone rang again. They said, well, we don't have the big van, but we found a replacement. The universe talks to you. You just gotta be quiet enough to listen. And that's for any obstacle. Life, death, everything in between.
Thank you.
Last question.
Hey, my name is Shane Boykin from Southern University at New Orleans. He actually took my question, and I didn't want to walk away. So I actually just want to thank you again and let you know that you have added fuel to my fire. And thank you for being an inspiration. Yeah.
It is my honor to be here with you this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Come get me, Sid.
Thank you so much, Crystal. It's hard to come after Crystal, but I do have a few announcements. But just, again, thank you so much for being here. We are better for having this experience, so I just really appreciate you taking the time out to be with us for the 2020 ERN Conference and celebrating 10 years. So thank you so much.
Much love.
Thank you.
Much love.
Okay.